see best by dates on just about everything we consume, and canned foods are no different. The problem is people take these best by dates. It even says best by. It doesn't say expires. It says best by, to the literal meaning. So this says this was best by December 28th, 2025. This means that this is just an arbitrary number that the manufacturer has said, hey, this will probably be the best in 2 years. And after that, it'll probably decrease in flavor, but it'll probably still be good. But to save our own butts, I'm gonna go ahead and put that there. Hey everyone, Morgan here. I wanna talk about the realities of best by dates. So I think with certain things like perishable things like cheeses, sour cream, dairy, things like that, the best by dates on those have usually been almost spot on, you know, but sometimes not. I mean, it just really, honestly, we have to get back to using our senses, man. I can't tell you how many times people have told me I threw out a can of food because it was past its best by date. And I just shudder at this thought because, one, you don't need to throw it away. You can donate it to food banks. They will take expired canned foods. As long as the cans still look clean, there are no dents or rust or anything like that, food banks will absolutely 100% take it. This is still good food, okay? Now, you know, probably if you bring in like a 10-year-old, you know, past best by date can of food, they may or may not take it, but they'll still accept it and then they'll do their inspection and what they will with it. But I don't feel right discarding something that I know is good, you know, a year to 5 years after the best by date. Most canned goods will last way longer than the best by date, up to 5 years. And if you search YouTube, you will even find, okay, you will find people eating canned goods that are like 10, 20, 30 years old, okay? Go look on YouTube, it's crazy, wild stuff. Commercially canned foods like this can last years and years. Home canned foods can actually last probably a couple, 2 or 3 years, depending on how it's stored, past its best by date as well. Like some, you know, canning jar companies will say, hey, you know, our seals will last about 18 months or something like that. They could potentially last longer. It just really depends on how they're stored. And that's where we come to here. The best by dates may say best by December 28th, 2025, but if I'm keeping this in ideal conditions where it's not getting frozen, it's not in super hot conditions, it's not in super humid conditions, it's nice and not dented and just beautiful and just looks great, right? I've eaten canned food years after the expiration and it's been fine. Now, a lot of people will tell you that things that are high in acidity, like tomatoes, and you know, like tomato paste, anything like that. A lot of fruits like pineapples, things like that, they won't last as long. And that is true. After a while, it may start corroding the can. But again, we have to use our senses. Use your eyes, use your nose, use your tongue, okay, if it comes down to that. But if you open it and you're looking at it and it looks disgusting, or you're looking at it and, you know, something is changed color, you should have some sort of guide to what this will look like when it's fresh. And then when you open it years later, you're gonna say, ew, this looks off, right? Maybe it might smell a little weird, maybe it won't, maybe the discoloration, but it could still be good. That's really your call, okay? I'm not gonna tell you it's still good, because discoloration can be a sign of it going bad. So can bad smells, so can mold, right? We have to start using our senses in a lot of these things. Now, as far as botulism goes, a lot of people will say, you know, you can't sense botulism. You can't smell it, you can't see it, that kind of thing, and that's true. While botulism is a foodborne illness, it usually will only happen if it's properly if it's not properly canned at home. Very rarely are you ever gonna find botulism from commercially canned stuff. I'm not saying that never, you know, if you didn't do it yourself, it's kind of like, well, how do I know that it was, you know, canned properly kind of thing. I get that. But here's the thing, botulism, you won't always be able to smell it or taste it. However, when it just generally comes to knowing whether something is bad, It's like milk. If you get out a carton of milk and it's past the expiration, what are you going to do? You're going to smell it. You're going to look at it. Are there any chunks? You're going to smell it. Does it smell bad? Does it taste bad? One time I poured some milk out for my kid. It looked fine. It was not chunky. It smelled okay. But then my kid tasted it and she said, "This tastes weird." She used her senses and told me this tastes weird. And then I tasted it and was like, oh yeah, it tastes weird. So it was going bad. This is the same thing that we can do. But one of the biggest factors of canned foods that you start knowing whether it's bad or not is if it starts bulging. Dents can compromise the seal, which could make it last much less time, okay? If you do not keep canned foods in ideal conditions, that's okay. I've kept canned foods in frozen conditions, really hot conditions, but this just means that it may not even make it to that best by date, and you may have to rotate more often. Maybe you're going to rotate once a year, things like that. So you just want to be conscious of that and just having to rotate more often. But if that's something you've come to terms with, that's fine. Cans freezing is really not the end of the world. Like I said, I have had cans in freezing conditions. I've pulled them out, opened them. They've been perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine. We've eaten them. We've been fine. Again, the same with cans in hot. I've put them in, I've eaten them, opened them, they're fine. You just have to rotate more often because it will decrease the shelf life. Again, it may not make it to that best by date, as well as it may not even make it past that. Whether you're canning at home or you're buying commercially canned foods, I highly recommend knowing that you can push this stuff. But if you don't feel comfortable keeping it past the best by date, please consider donating it instead of throwing it away. A lot of people will also put canned corns and things on like Facebook for like pigs or animals or things like that, in which they don't want to eat it past the best by, but it may still probably be fine for like pigs or chickens or something like that. But again, that's totally your call. I highly recommend trying to donate it if at all possible first before discarding it. But just make sure that everything looks good. Like I said in this whole video, thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, put them down below in the comments. What is the longest canned food past the expiration date that you have eaten? And have you seen any of those videos on YouTube of people eating those super old canned foods? They're brave souls. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Conquer Tomorrow by Preparing Today. I'll talk to you later. Bye.